Coaches, welcome to the Coach Gibbs Defense Lab. I'm joined with the 2025 FCS National Championship quarterback from the Montana State Bobcats and former USA football quarterback, Justin Lamson. Justin, thanks for taking the time to talk to us today, bud.
Yeah, appreciate you having me on. I'm excited. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, man, it's been a while. My hair's a little grayer. You probably a little taller and a little bit better shape than Coach Gibbs. Actually, you were in better shape anyway when you were a sophomore in high school. Well, again, first of all, congrats on a phenomenal run you guys had. It was really cool watching you guys and just hit the ground running into the playoffs. And, so what really wanted to talk about was kind of tell your story. So from that record-setting performance we had back in 2019 in the International Bowl, scoring 61 points, I think you had 3 or 4 touchdown passes, in that game, going to Stanford and where you're at now. So kind of for the coaches and the players that are going to listen to this, just kind of walk us through, from that, from AT&T Stadium up until winning the national title this year.
Yeah, I guess my biggest memories from that USA football deal was just being able to represent your country and play against, Canada. I thought that was such a cool opportunity, and coming from a smaller town in California, just getting to meet all the guys from different backgrounds. I know we had East Coast kids, West Coast kids, from really all over the country. I thought that was the coolest part of the whole deal. My buddy played against Japan, I believe, that a couple weeks later. So just for him and I to go through that process, it was something that I won't forget. And ultimately, it was good to put up that many points and win, and represent your country. I think that was the most important thing, I guess. Yeah.
So, all right. So yeah, we win, I think when I was talking to Ryan last week, I think we still hold the record for most points scored in an international bowl. When you have 3 really good quarterbacks, and I'm just the head coach and let you guys kind of do your thing, it's easy to put up that many points when you got good players. So take us through after you get go to high school, and then obviously you went to Stanford. So walk us through that process of your decision to go there, and then kind of after Stanford, then getting into Montana State.
Yeah, so I think that was after my sophomore year, I believe, and I was playing safety at the time just because we had a senior quarterback. And yeah, follow up that year. I really feel like that offseason was a big developmental year for me. Really felt like I took a step as a quarterback as a whole. And my junior year, we did really well. We made to state semis in, the second highest division in California. And, kind of started picking up some traction after that year. Started with the FCS programs, then got up to some P4 programs. And, before that, I didn't really know what was in store for me for football, but just getting blessed by those opportunities was pretty cool. Then next year, the COVID year hits. So I don't even play a senior year in high school. And, I actually went to Syracuse out of high school. I went to Syracuse for 2 years because, by that time, I didn't have senior year tape. All the Pac-12 West Coast schools were basically filled up, right? People were coming really early, really early for the cycles. And so I basically was between Louisville and Syracuse. Early enrolled at Syracuse and, was there for 2.5 years and played under Dino Babers. And, it was a great experience. Learned so much there, just about myself, about, what it takes to become a college football player. My second year, I had a season-ending injury, which was super, super hard for me because I thought I could really step into, a leadership role and play at that level. And then, the next year they had a returning starter, and I just felt like I could go play somewhere, right? So I took a chance on myself and entered the portal and got a spot at Stanford. And I was really fortunate to get that opportunity at Stanford.
So, and obviously going from, and I think people don't really appreciate this, you're going from California all the way to Watertown, New York, which is completely opposite spectrum weather-wise of each other. I mean, you go from where you grew up to a place where at a drop of a hat in December, it could drop 8 feet of snow. like
Yeah.
with in a drop of a hat. So, what were some of the things, I guess, when you made that move going back? Obviously, you're going back home. So, what were some of the things when you got into the portal that kind of drew you to Stanford? Was it the fact that you were going back home? Was it a coaching staff thing? Was it a offensive philosophical thing? Like, what were some of the things going through your mind?
Yeah, it was a little bit of both. Like Troy Taylor had gotten hired at Stanford. And I grew up, obviously I'm a Sacramento kid. So I grew up just watching Sac State, and he was a Folsom guy, which is right next to my high school. I don't know if you're familiar with Folsom, but like they've been a powerhouse since he got there. So, just like it kind of all clicked together, right? Stanford's education, which my family takes super seriously. And just the opportunity to go compete for the starting job is something that I really, that was probably the most, that was the driving factor of the whole decision. And then obviously Troy Taylor, staff that I knew, and then being 2 hours from my family, like you can't really beat that. So, I just took that opportunity, and I'm really happy that I ended up going to Stanford for 2 years. So,
Yeah, no, that's so now. Okay, so you got Syracuse, you're playing for Coach Babers.
Yeah,
you get to Stanford, you're playing for Troy Taylor. So now, what goes into the decision process as far as the whole now you're going to transition to one of the top FCS programs in the country. So like, what was that whole process like for you?
Yeah, well, I'll hit on my time at Stanford, just how that went down.
Yeah.
A little bit late, went through fall camp, and just basically turned into a great QB battle between Ashton Daniels and I, who Ashton's at Florida State now. And it was neck and neck. I mean, I remember like the day before we were playing a week 0 game, day before we go to Hawaii, we're playing week 0. They tell me that they're going to give Ashton the go, give him the nod. And, obviously tough pill to swallow, right? You leave all your boys back in Syracuse, and you're coming to Stanford, take a chance on yourself. And you're ultimately in the same exact spot that you were in at Syracuse, right? So that was a hard pill to swallow, but honestly, throughout that year, I got a lot of opportunities to play. Didn't feel like I played my best, but we kind of started running a 2-quarterback system. And then following the next year, kind of same thing. Ashton and I kind of run a 2 QB system. He probably took 75% of the snaps, and I probably took 25. And it got to the point where I was like, I don't know if there's a opportunity for me to elevate my game here, just because I kind of feel like I'm this running quarterback. And, I did feel like there was more for me to contribute to the team, whether, they felt like I showed them that I couldn't or whatever it was. I'm so thankful for them even just giving me the opportunity to play my first college snaps there. And how high of a level that is. You got to be on point and ready to go when your number's called. And sometimes I feel like I didn't execute at the level I needed to be, but it is what it is. And got some tape, and I hopped into the portal as a grad transfer, and Coach Vegan, who's at Montana State, is our head coach. One of the best head coaches I've been around. Just respect him so much as a man and a person. He recruited me at Wyoming when I was in high school, so I had already this prior connection to him. And he basically gave me this opportunity to come in and once again go compete for a job. And it all worked out. I mean, I feel like he was one of the first coaches that I felt like he gave me the keys early. And as a quarterback and as a player, belief is something that means a lot to us, and you can play freely when you feel like you have a coach that believes in you. So yeah, it was a great decision for me. And but all 3 of my stops, it's kind of weird. I didn't think that my college career would go like that, but I'm very thankful for all 3 of the spots.
Yeah, like I said, I think one of the things that me as a high school coach for 25 years, I think for all the young guys, especially the quarterback position, are going to listen to this. Like, you never you always kept in touch with these guys, and Coach V gave you that shot, but it was the relationship that you built when he was at Wyoming that said, "Hey, Justin's now in the portal. He really is a guy that could really come here and compete and help us out." And the fact that you kept that relationship, I think is huge, because I think today more so than ever, like, you never know where guys are going to end up.
Yeah.
Coaches especially. And that's something I try to instill in my guys. Like, listen, you go to this recruiting fair, this NAIA coach may be an FCS coach in 2 years when you get in the portal. So I think that's an awesome point to make for all the younger guys that are gonna listen to that. So I think that's awesome that you had those 3 experiences. Obviously, you got one more year to go, which is great. You got to run to an install meeting a little bit. So I guess walk us through kind of like that playoff run. Like, what was that experience like? I mean, I watched both. I watched the semifinal and the final, which was unbelievable. I can't even imagine what the atmosphere was like in that semifinal game.
Yeah.
Playing your rival, but kind of walk us through like, your mindset, preparation. Like, how did you guys feel as a unit? Obviously, with you pulling the trigger, like, kind of walk us through that a little bit.
Yeah, I think preparation wise, I think I've learned this in my career is just like every day you have to find a way to, whether it's the stuff that you guys are installing for that week or it's the preparation looking at their defense, you have to find a way to excel. And I think I learned that throughout the year. And I do think during that playoff run, we played Yale early in I think it was second round, just because we had to bye the first round. So didn't feel like I played my best football that game. And the next week we had SFA, who was a really good athletic team from Texas, and kind of had to just be on your P's and Q's a little bit, because those dudes are going to make you pay if you're a little bit late, right? So it's just about knowing every single step, like what coverage they're in pre-snap, like how are we dealing with these protections, and those are all the things that you go over during the week. But if you're leaving the facility at 4 p.m. each day, you're not gonna be right on Saturdays. You need to put those extra hours in to be right, and that's something I've learned, and you kind of have to learn it the hard way sometimes. But no, the semifinals game, I do think we were playing some of our best football at that point. Just guys were clicking. We were getting the pass game going, and it kind of carried over into the finals. And those atmospheres were unbelievable. I don't know if you're familiar with Montana football, but I mean these fans and these people here, they love football. Like it's so cool, and I'm just grateful to be a part of it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean the throw you had to win the game against Illinois State. I mean, that corner route was like, I'm sitting there with my son is when you were playing, he was only about 4 or 5 when I coached you.
Yeah.
So now he's going to be in 7th grade and he wants to be a quarterback, and we're sitting there watching you, and I'm like, and you made that throw, and I was like, you like kind of the stuff. I'm like, you validated everything that I was kind of like telling him as a dad, like, hey, look how on time that was, and look how he led him. And he's like, that's what you mean. I'm like, yeah, well, when the 6'4" guy that wins the national title does it, and I'm always in his ear. But I mean, so what was that? Getting into that, my next kind of question is like, what was that play call do you have like like 2 options? Do you have kind of get a call, look over the defense, and then kill it, and then do something else? Like, was that play call, or did you guys like that was it? Like that was your money call for that play?
Yeah, I mean that play is just kind of so we ran some stuff with a corner and 2 end breakers throughout the year, just different ways of getting it, like whips on the outside, run routes on the inside. But we called that play flag banger. So it was basically like 2 glances from the outside guys, and then a corner from the inside guy. And our initial pre-snap read, if we started in the 3-by-1 set, is just seeing where the corner was to start, right? Like, is he low? Is he high? Trying to get an indicator of whether it's going to be man or zone. We motioned to that play. So it's kind of a different version. So you could tell right away they were in man zero, just the way that the guys were walked up and how they've been playing us the whole second half. But truthfully, it is an inside out read. But we had seen stuff, and our OC did a good job right before the play. He's like, if we motion to this and we get this look, the corner is going to be there, just because of the way they had been playing the whole second half. So it was kind of, I mean, once I saw the guy motion with our receiver Taco, I kind of knew it was going to be a money play, and it was just kind of thrown to a spot, something Taco and I had been practicing for a good bit. So great play call, and happy we got it done there.
Yeah, I mean that was phenomenal. Just the execution, and again, I know like how much work you guys have put in, and you and Taco just I mean, just watching both you guys through that playoff run, that was like that's something that the chemistry you guys showed was just shows the amount of work and hard work and preparation you guys put in. So two questions. Toughest opponent this season. We'll go with that. And then I want to go to your actual favorite play call, not just the play of the year, but your actual favorite play call of the year. So let's go toughest opponent first.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to exclude Oregon just because I want to go just FCS based. I thought Yale was a team that was really scrappy. I think their nickel that we played, number 4, he was one of the better DBs we saw all season. You know, even I think he's an FBS guy, P4 guy, no doubt. But they were a team that was just playing with a chip on their shoulder and were flying around. And I think they had a little moxie to them, which, you know, I appreciate that. But no, they gave us a good run. And honestly, they ultimately, for myself, put me in check a little bit. Like, hey, you're going to have to lock in here because all these teams are going to play in the playoffs are really good. But no, I think FCS wise, I think they were good. There's so many good teams in the playoffs that we played. I feel like all 4 of those teams were pretty solid. So SFA was one of the more athletic teams we played against too. All those Texas kids, and they were flying around the field. They had 2 corners. One's in the Senior Bowl, then one's at Houston now. But yeah, those dudes could go.
And that's the thing. Like, you know, FCS football, like, you know, when I was growing up, you know, it's not obviously with the portal, it's a lot different now, you know, than it was like 25 years ago. All right. And then other than your flag banger play, what was, if you could do like a 1A or a 2, like what would be your favorite play call and execution of the year other than the one to win the national championship?
Yeah. We had a play against Montana. It was basically like a stream motion where our slot basically, so we'd been running a lot of power scheme with me as like reading the end, right? And we had like a play off of it where same kind of action with the guard pulling, but and the fly sweep, but basically is out of like a unbalanced formation where the tight ends and receivers fake block and then they get out. So we had one against Montana, kind of going into our end zone in the student section, and our tight end, like a diving catch. I don't know if you remember that play.
Yeah. Yep.
And our running back was like putting his hands on his head, like, how'd you catch that? It was honestly just like cool moment, like with all of our fans, and you know that drive kind of put that game away. So it's definitely a play I will never forget, and probably one that sticks out to me throughout the season.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, last question, and then I know you got to run because you got to get to a meeting. So I guess having, you know, the experiences you've had, right? You know, starting really playing the International Bowl, you know, quarterback, then you go back, you're playing safety, then you're playing quarterback, and then you have these different experiences at different universities. Like, what advice would you give, I guess, quarterbacks that aspire to get to the level that you're at, and then any type of specific drills that you would recommend, you know, that an experience that you have that you think really have helped you?
Yeah, I'll give 2 things of advice, and then a couple things just drill wise that I think have helped me a lot. The first thing of advice is super cliche, but it's like something bad is going to happen in your career, whether you like it or not. Like sometimes you're going to get benched, injuries may happen. You might be around a coach that you don't like. You might be around teammates that you don't like, but you got to find a way to persevere through all those things. And I've had my fair share of injuries. You know, I've been benched, like we talked about, and you know, it's not easy, right? But if you really love football and you say you love football, you have to find a way to fight through those things, because I do think every great NFL player, any person that we all look up to, has gone through some tough shit, right? And I think that's something that it's gonna happen at the highest level. So, and it happens in high school. So I think if there's a kid out there that's listening to me and wants to get to the spot of playing Division I football, is just keep fighting, because you know every day is a grind, and you just gotta keep your mind straight on what you want to do. And I think another thing is try to find a way to be the best player in the room every single day. Is like, what are you doing extra today that you're better than the guy next to you, right? Because there's, especially when you get to this level, there's so many good players and guys that are the dudes where they come from, right? It's like, okay, how do I beat this guy? Is it watching extra 30 minutes of film? And I think some guys say that they're actually going to do that, but do they really do it? Like, are you going to go throw extra routes with, you know, your receivers? And I think that's what we pride ourselves off of here, is finding a way to you know, beat another team every single day, whether it's, you know, doing stuff after lift, whether it's watching film and doing those extra meetings that you may not want to do, right? You want to go home and chill and get to sleep, but, you know, you got to do those things if you want to see yourself at the top. And, you know, it's very difficult to actually do it. And a lot of people say they do it, but you just got to be willing to put your head down and work every single day. And then I think drill wise, I would say, you know, I see, especially for quarterbacks, I always see like crazy movements, right? I see all these like QB trainers doing, you know, like the Bryce Young drop where you're backpedaling and doing like these crazy movements, off balance throws. And I think there's definitely a time and place for that, and you have to work that in. But I've always been a true believer of like, okay, let's just take our 3-step drop and just be on rhythm. I think that was something too that I had to learn, is just, you know, doing the small things, like the actual fundamentals correctly, is super important. And then you can get into those off balance throws when you need to be, because I think if you're practicing those things too much, it becomes a little forced, if you know what I'm saying. And I think it's just a timing aspect of things, is just going out with your receivers, being on rhythm to everything. Because I do think coaches at this level really appreciate being on time, being great with your feet, and not just all over the pocket. And you know what I mean? Like doing a sideways drop into the left tackle's hip is like, I see that a lot, you know what I mean? And I had to learn that too. So just smaller things, just working on the fundamentals to start with.
I think that's all, like, you know, I think at the end of the day, regardless of what position you play, it all starts with the fundamentals. Like everything else, like everybody has their God-given ability, you know, God-given talent, but you know, it's how you, at the end of the day, like when the rubber hits the road, like you're going to rely on the fundamentals, you know, that you do every day in individual periods. So, but listen, buddy, I appreciate you giving this 25 minutes. I know you got to run to an install, but listen, I am proud as hell of you. I can't, dude. I remember talking with your dad at that game, and when you were just kind of chopping up a little bit, and everything that you've gotten in your career, you've worked for, and I know like you got one more year, and then, you know, sky's the limit for you, dude. But listen, I'll be watching. I appreciate you taking the time, man. Best of luck, and let's talk soon, okay?
Yeah, thanks, Coach. I appreciate you.
All right, buddy.
See ya.
See ya.